saying is, when I look at all of it, when I look at the photographic evidence, or I look at the fact that we haven't been back since 1972, when I look at the fact that no humans except the Apollo astronauts have ever gone through the Van Allen radiation belt, the fact that no one's even done a flyby around the moon since then, it seems weird to me. When I look at the press conference and I see Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins nervous and weird and obviously like being deceptive after they came back.
You don't think the moon landing is real?
No, I don't. No. Do you?
Yeah.
Why do you think the moon landing is real? Why don't you tell me why?
I saw it on television.
Oh, you're a genius. Oh, beep that.
Okay, we'll bleep it. We'll bleep it. No, it's okay. We got
That's genius. You saw it on TV? That's awesome. I'm going to show you some CGI. I'm going to show you King Kong. I saw that on TV, too. There's an 80-foot gorilla. He's running around kidnapping white chicks. You should check it out. 1972 was the last time a human being has been through the Van Allen radiation belt. 1972. That's the last time. There's been only 7 trips ever that human beings have ever gone past 400 miles. Every single space station mission, every space shuttle, every satellite, all of those are inside the protective Van Allen radiation belts, which start at 1,000 miles. They go from 1,000 miles to, depending on who you ask, if you ask NASA, 24,000 miles. If you ask James Van Allen, the guy who discovered it, it's 67,000 miles of intense radiation that's in a gigantic donut band that covers around the Earth. Now, even if you got outside of that band, you have to deal with solar cycles. There's the apex of a 20-year solar cycle was between 1969 and 1972. All the time when these guys were making those missions. Any one of those guys out there in those tiny little aluminum shielded crafts would have been killed instantly during any solar flare.
Why fake it?
Thank you, Kyle. Why not fake it?
You should open with that.
If you look at any of the footage online, it looks ridiculous. It looks stupid. If you look at the videos, it looks ridiculous and dumb. You know why? Because in 1969, nobody anticipated that we were going to have VCRs and the internet. We were going to be able to watch that. They figured out a way to fake it. That's why when Neil Armstrong got back, first of all, he went insane. They went into a deep depression. So did Buzz Aldrin. Became a huge alcoholic. He gave no interviews. Neil Armstrong still to this day will not give interviews. He gave one speech that he gave at the 25th anniversary of the moon landing. And this is what he said in front of America's best honor students. He said, "We have here amongst us America's best and brightest." And the quote was, "You will achieve many great things if you could peel away one of truth's hidden layers." That's a speech this guy gives standing in front of the top honor students. Not, "I went to the moon." He doesn't say that. He gives this cryptic speech. Now, Bill Clinton, in page 100, I think it's 156 of his book, My Life, he gives this story about how when he was a kid, he was working with this carpenter. And this carpenter said, you know, "I don't believe man landed on the moon." It was 3 months after the moon landing. And he said, "I thought that guy was ridiculous." He said, "You know what? I don't believe anything those TV fellows show you." He said, "After 8 years in the White House, I thought maybe that guy was ahead of his time."
Wow.
This is in Bill Clinton's autobiography.
Wow.
This is in his book. There's no way people went on the moon. There's no way.
By the way,
it's impossible today. China wants to go back to the moon. They don't even have a clue how to do it. They're going to try to get there in 2020. America thinks we could possibly go back in 2017. All of the hard data, the telemetry data, 14,000 reels is missing. No one can find it. What the telemetry data is, that's the binary data, the ones and the zeros that show the distance between the command module and the Earth during every step of the way, on the way to the moon and back, which you can't fake. They don't have that. They can't find it. Which you would think would be in a locked golden vault in the Smithsonian. But no, they can't find it. Well, they say, well, you know, they placed laser reflectors on the moon. You could shoot a laser beam. That's proof. Well, it's not proof, because the Russians did it twice with unmanned probes. The Russians also collected space samples and samples of the moon.
I go, what is that? I look at all that stuff. When I look at the video footage that Bart Seabrook character, who's clearly out of his mind, for sure. And so is that Renee guy. So are a lot of those guys. But sometimes, occasionally, someone who's clearly out of their mind has a point. If you can sift through all their BS and look at all the crap that they say and run it through a filter, every now and then they'll say something, oh, well, this guy's wrong about almost everything, but is he wrong about that? Now, when I look at that video and some of the video that Seabrook has of them faking the distance between the Earth and the moon when they're shooting the moon, or the Earth rather, through a circular window in the lunar module, and they have the windows blacked out. They're pretending that it's deep space. They're saying that they're 130,000 miles out, and then you see them pull the window curtains down, or the shade, whatever they have covering up with the windows, and you see that they're actually in near-Earth orbit. That makes me curious. When I look at the photographs and I see intersecting shadows. Now, I'm no photographic expert. I don't know anything about the moon, really, except stuff that I've read on the internet. I'm no scientist. But when I see intersecting shadows that seem to show some sort of a different light source or more than one light source, it looks odd to me. When I see that those crosshairs aren't over all the images, it looks cut and cropped to me. When I look at some of the photographs of the moon, I have this gigantic coffee table book, and it's all, a NASA book, and it's beautiful pictures of the moon and all these different photographs. Well, when I look at some of them, they look obviously fake. They look cut and cropped. And I'm not saying I know they are. I'm not saying I have any special information. But I'm an open-minded person. And when I look at it, I say, look, I know I sound like a retard. I know I sound like a crackpot. I know saying that, the Earth is hollow, there's dinosaurs inside of it, I'm sure. It's very similar to saying I don't think people landed on the moon. But you know what? I don't think people landed on the moon.
No human being ever, since the Apollo astronauts, has gone more than 400 miles up.
That's about right, yeah.
That's ridiculous. 260,000 miles there and back, and the best they can do since 1972 is 400 miles?
Yeah. And now, while you're saying it's ridiculous because you can't believe it, I think it's ridiculous because I can believe it very well.
But it's not like they're not spending money. And they keep talking about going back, but they talk about going back in 2020. Why go back in 2020 when you could just... That's the other problem. They don't have the telemetry data from the Apollo 11. Isn't that like the most important data? Isn't that like the most important thing? A huge technological achievement. They landed a man on the moon, brought him back, and they're missing the telemetry data? 14,000 something reels?
They're missing a lot of that stuff. Was not
because you can't fake it. You can't fake the telemetry data.
One of the things that's most irritating about this conspiracy theory for someone like me is that a lot of this stuff is really subtle and complicated. And
14,000 reels of telemetry data for the most technological achievement in human history that's not stored in the Smithsonian Institute. It's not stored in NASA Vault. It's not labeled. It's not under lock and key. It's not in a gold vault. There's nothing weird about that.
I can't say anything about 14,000 reels. I don't know the number, and so
yeah, it's like 13,000 or 14,000. I forget. Either way, it's more than 100, which is crazy.
Lost.
You've lost more, if you lost more than 100 of the telemetry data. That's insane.
A lot of the stuff was owned by contractors. It was shelved. They weren't paid to store it, and it went away.
It's NASA. NASA lost it. This is the hard footage.
NASA is not just NASA. NASA is civil servants. NASA is 10 different contractors. There was Northrop Grumman. There was North American.
Nice. Yeah, Grumman lost all their stuff. So did Boeing. They lost all their information too on the moon buggy, on the lunar module. They lost all that stuff.
This is
how convenient.
It's another argument brought up by conspiracy theorists. Not to me. Each one of these missions, each one of these lunar landers was different. It's not like they designed a car and then just cranked them out. They had an overall design, and then each one was different. Each one they had to note all of these changes and everything, and it was all done on paper.
I gotta tell you, Phil, I'm not done with you, bitch. We haven't even got into solar flares. The apex of a 20-year solar cycle happened while the Apollo landings are going on. Those people would have fried up there, baby.
This is Rocky. This is Rocky. Joe did not have a chance.